Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the founder and CEO of Impact Squared, Noah Gaffney Slaney.
Now we're down to the last two. May I have this dance?
I'm here today to talk about trust, what's been happening, how we can address it, and why I'm optimistic. I'm basing my perspective on my experience working with thousands of young people over the past 10 years, young people like Kenny Mafadon. Kenny is a 25-year-old from a rough part of South London. When he was 16 years old, he was wrongly accused of murder and spent 6 months in prison. Instead of letting that experience define him, he went on to study law, get out the vote amongst disenfranchised young people, and today he works at the Houses of Parliament. Unfortunately, Kenny's in the minority. Most young people today are disengaged and disillusioned. They are so mistrusting of systems that a recent study showed that most young people believe that half of systems, including governments and religious institutions, have more of a negative impact than a positive one. And unfortunately, this has broader implications than organizations themselves. If we look at crises from Me Too to populism to the latest corporate scandal, we see that a lack of trust is underneath all of those issues. And this has broad implications for the fabric of our society. If we think about it, organizations rely on our trust for their license to operate. When they break our trust, we rely on institutions to regulate and keep them in check. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is that we've reached a tipping point. So many organizations have broken our trust that we're beginning to question the value of the institutions and the underlying system itself. But what if we could reframe the narrative? What if instead of saying it's all doom and gloom, we could think of trust as in transition? Trust has been in transition for the past 200 years. Traditionally, trust was local. We knew one another and we knew who was trustworthy and who wasn't. With the Industrial Revolution, we moved to cities and trust became top-down. We relied on institutions like corporations and government to make sense of the world around us. With the rise of the internet and social media, trust became flat, trust became peer-to-peer. The role of institutions became less important, and we relied more and more on the wisdom of crowds. Of course, we're seeing the limitations of that system today, which is why I'm so excited to see a new system of trust emerging, 3D trust. 3D trust empowers individuals and institutions equally, and they engage with one another in a multidimensional way. 3D trust is built across a number of continua. It's both global and local, it's top-down and bottom-up, and it empowers technology and people power. How are organizations leveraging this? Well, Kenny's organization, Bite the Ballot, is working across these three continua to rebuild trust in the political system. In terms of technology, they realize that many young people don't vote because they don't understand the basics of how to. So they put out online resources that people could access in the privacy of their own homes. At the same time, they're leveraging people power, hosting democracy cafes, facilitated conversations in underserved areas, getting young people excited and empowered about the right to vote. The second thing they're doing is they're working in a top-down and bottom-up approach. They're not only a grassroots organization, but they also created an all-party parliamentary group focused on the issue of youth voting. They're making sure this issue is being addressed at all levels. And the final thing that they're doing is they recognize that they can't just be a local organization in a global world. So recently, they went to Colombia, they trained local change makers, and they learned and listened from the local context, making sure that they could bring them back and make their organization stronger. We believe that we can democratize access to individuals and institutions. That's why we're creating Trust CoLab. It's a new movement focused on making 3D trust a priority, and we're working with global leaders, local champions, and everyday citizens. We need your help to make this a reality. So we're doing 3 things, and we'd love for you to get involved. The first is that we're seeking commitments from global leaders, including heads of state and CEOs, to put this issue on the mark and make it part of our daily discourse. The second thing that we're doing is we're hosting a global listening exercise. We'll be hosting roundtables at events like this one, but we'll also be open sourcing the process so that anyone can get engaged and involved. And the final thing that we're doing is we're building a tech platform. We want to empower and engage individuals and institutions equally and leverage machine learning to start predicting issues before they turn into crises. Trust is so fundamental to who we are and how we engage with the world. I urge you all to get involved because we can't afford not to. Thank you.